Hey folks, this is Larry for Kaju Creative, and welcome to episode 1 of the Creative Tales podcast. This episode features Marta Grandi here in Kathmandu, Nepal. We talk about representation in music, relocating yourself halfway across the world, the deep music scene here in Nepal, and setting up your own booking agency for local and touring live musicians. This episode was filmed at Kaalo 101 here in Patan and features a few growling cats somewhere in the middle there for your enjoyment. This, of course, is the video version. If you'd like to check out the audio version, you can head to all the normal podcast places or check out the links down below. Okay, good evening and welcome to the very first Creative Tales podcast. This is Larry here and I have with me Marta Grandi. Hello.
Hello, Larry.
How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
So this is at long last my attempt at finally doing a podcast after years and years of I used to play around with audio back in the day, and then as you know I've been getting caught up in video in recent times. I actually started this as a bit of an interview series, and in that interview series I did it more documentary style, but I feel like the podcast slash video content style might suit this a bit better. But in that series, I used to start by asking my guests, who are you and what do you create?
Oh, hello. My name is Marta. I am a singer-songwriter and I work as an artist booking and event management and I don't know, artistic director in some cases. Like my experience brought me to took me to work with music in different ways. But I started off by studying jazz vocals and playing jazz for many years. Then I started to write my own songs. And yeah, that's what I mainly do. But I also like to work, in the other side of the music business and discover beautiful music and help promoting it.
Okay, and can you tell me where do you create and perform your work?
So I'm based in Kathmandu. Well, yeah, I'm based between Kathmandu and Europe. I'm from Milan. I lived in Belgium, in Ghent, Belgium, for 5 years, on and off. Because about 4 years ago, I started to kind of like being addicted to going mm, further and further. And I came for the first time in Nepal 4 years ago. I loved it, and I just kept coming back. And now I'm based here most of the time. So I spend most of the year here, but I also go to Europe for rather long periods when there is the opportunity of performing with different collaborations I have ongoing. Mainly, I write music here, and and it depends on the people I collaborate with. Actually, I'm more creative when I'm working with someone.
Okay, so we first connected through Sofar Sounds. Can you tell
Mhm.
me your first connection with Sofar Sounds and what the journey has been like?
So my first so far was in Den Haag, The Hague,
Okay,
yeah, in
right,
the Netherlands.
yeah.
Very first,
You were performing?
I was performing,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Actually, this was the year when my debut album was out in 2016 in the spring.
Okay.
And so when this album came out, it's called Invertebrates and it was released with the name Marta Rosa. That was the name of my band. And the band was based in Belgium. We released this record independently, and friends and like people of my network helped out getting more and more possibility of performing around, also in realities that I didn't know yet. And one of them was Sofar Sounds. So I got in touch with the team from Brescia, Italy, in a like kind of rather small city in the north of Italy that has an incredible Sofar Sounds team.
Okay.
And I planned a show with them for September that year. But then for some other like connections, I ended up playing The Hague before. So in May or June, I think May or June 2016, I went to play this show, and I was supposed to go with my guitarist, but then my guitarist told me like he couldn't make it for that last gig of this mini tour in the Netherlands.
Okay.
So I just picked up my acoustic guitar and I went on my own and I played a show, like a mini set, like a short set, I don't know, 4 songs from my album
Uh-huh.
on guitar and vocals. That is something that I basically never do
Right.
unless when I write them, I guess. So it was like quite interesting. And I made friends. Like that was a very interesting experience because I made some new friends that then I kept on visiting in the following 2 years. And that was the very first one. The second one was this one in Brescia, Italy. That was really amazing. And so I got like very well impressed by Sofar Sounds. And moreover, it was like more like this personal connection with some of the people. So in the Netherlands, it was some of the people from the audience that became quite good friends.
Mhm.
And in some months after in Brescia, I got very, I got to know the team and especially this girl Irene, that is the A&R.
Okay.
And I stayed in touch with her. She came to visit me. Then we're always in touch. We always exchange ideas and
Right.
bands we like.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And what led to you bringing Sofar Sounds to Nepal, in a sense?
When I moved here last year, so in September 2017, I didn't have that much like work wise. So I was working on a few projects that then evolved during the year, but I didn't have a job. I didn't have a place to be, an office or any type of like commitment. So I thought I have time for once to start something new, start a new project. And I had this nice experience with Sofar Sounds, and I had a very good friend in Brescia who's in the team. So I thought I would ask her how to do it, and she helped me getting in touch with the headquarters, and then we set it up. Of course, yeah, it was important to meet the right people here, and that happened quite soon. Like in October, we had this festival called Sign Valley. It was a festival of electronic music here in Kathmandu,
Mhm.
and I got to know some younger musicians that I didn't know before, and they were actually, yeah, the right like the thing that I was missing to start the Sofar team. So then
Okay.
this happened. Yeah,
So how did that team form, and what were the challenges?
challenges. Yeah, there are always challenges because it's a very free form. Like you become Sofar Sounds Kathmandu, but then it's just like really everything is up to you. Basically, Sofar works as a brand, I would say. Like you can start a Sofar in your city if there is no Sofar in your city, and if you have a minimum of I think 4 team members,
Hmm.
and or at least even if you're less, like you can uh, make sure that everyone can, just like these few people can cover all the tasks. And then if you have a list of potential acts that you can feature. So yeah, it was challenging because we weren't sure like who wanted to do what and how we would do it and how it would work. But it actually was very natural, I have to say.
Okay.
It was very easy to start, and then there are always challenges, of course, but at the same time it's still, I would say, quite easy to make it work. Yeah.
Right. Right. Along the way, how long have you been around now, and what have been some of the wins, some of the achievements?
In Kathmandu.
Yeah.
So it's been 4 years on and off. The first time it was like just for my internship. So it was just, wow, an overwhelming experience because it was so far away and so different, and so different, like really different in terms of energy and dynamics.
Hmm.
And coming from Europe, I mean, and I got addicted to it. I thought that I could just like come back and stay. There were like difficulties, and that's why in the beginning I was not really like full on, oh, go back to Nepal, live in Nepal. due to the fact that I still like find it hard being a foreigner to have a good balance between work and being home and having enough savings, and so that was like what I was a little bit afraid of. But so I would
Home
say
in the
that
sense your home country.
home as in Europe, even though like home is a very difficult concept for me.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, here is probably more home, but it's really hard for me to say home. Actually, now I said it, it's very lighthearted, but not really. But anyways, I think that was what scared me. But I would say, so then one of the achievements is for sure the fact that I'm getting by and surviving
Right.
in this life and making it happen and having enough possibility of work and limited possibility of savings, but it's enough to travel when I need to travel, and it's getting better and better.
You said you got addicted to it. What was it that you got addicted to?
Of Nepal, you
Yeah.
mean? I got addicted.
I wasn't sure whether it was Nepal.
I was addicted. I got addicted to the idea of getting like away and even far and more far. So I was already like, when I came here the first time, I'm from Italy and I was living in Belgium, but like after 2 years of Belgium, I was like, oh, I want to go again, like somewhere else and somewhere far. Then as I came to Nepal, it was like really the doors of a new universe opened up. So I just couldn't stay in Europe anymore.
Right.
I got addicted to run away.
Okay. I think I've pulled up a video from perhaps that performance at The Hague that you're talking about. Is that right? Do you want to introduce this tune?
Yeah, man. So this song is called "I Don't Wanna Marry." It might sound funny since I am married, but it's not an autobiographical song. In fact, it's a song inspired, and it tells my view on the story of this amazing woman, Pippa Bacca, an Italian performer who was from Milan, and now I don't remember exactly when. I think it was 2011 when she came up with this idea, this project, traveling from Milan to Jerusalem hitchhiking, dressed up as a bride.
Okay.
And this might sound like a great story, but the end is very tragic. In fact, she was kidnapped and murdered in Turkey. And that was like, I was rather young, I think. And I don't know if I got the whole picture, and I don't know how I could read more about it, because in fact there was not like, you didn't have a smartphone, and I think I didn't have a computer. But anyways, it's really really hit me, this story, because of the way the media in Italy were presenting it, like, oh yeah, she went there and she got killed. It was like almost like blaming her and saying that she triggered, like she chased it. And then I felt like that was really wrong. And years later, I wrote this song thinking of this story and wanted to like pay a homage to her, I guess.
Okay, let's have a listen.
I don't wanna marry, I don't wanna marry, but let me dress in white, oh, let me dress in white. I don't want a house, I don't want a car, but let me travel wide, and don't expect me to be wise, and please don't save me from my thoughtless mind. I don't want to marry a bride, no horse, no bride, no prince, not even a pony. I didn't bring a knife, just a dice and a piece of a mirror to remind me of all that useless beauty, of all the glitter and things that I don't own. If I had to decide again, I swear I wouldn't lie, I don't want but let me travel wide, and don't expect me to be shy, and please don't save me from my shameless mind. I don't wanna marry. Why? Oh, why do you keep on wondering why? Why do I always have to be wise? Oh, why do I always have to be shy? Oh, why, oh, why? Oh, why do you keep on asking me why? Oh, why do you always want me to lie? Oh, why do I always have to be wise? Oh, why do you feel so responsible? Why do you keep on asking yourself why? If I had to decide again, my love, I wouldn't die for you. I don't wanna marry, I don't wanna marry, but let me dress in white. Oh, let me dress in white. I don't want a house, I don't want a car, but let me travel wide, and don't expect me to be wise, and please don't save me from my thoughtless mind. I don't want to marry a bride, no horse, no bride, no prince, not even a pony.
The artist formerly known as Marta Rosa. What's it like for you to watch that back right now?
It was good, actually. I thought I would hate it.
You seem like, I don't know, distant or perhaps embarrassed by your older material somehow,
Um,
or maybe just sick of it.
no,
What is it?
I don't know. It's just like it's very different than what I do now.
Mhm.
It's hard because it's very personal.
Yeah.
It's like really personal, and I think that I was really being myself very much,
Yeah.
which I somehow find harder now. I mean, of course, I'm not like putting up a persona or anything now, but I just in a way like got to be like a bit more abstract in what I do.
Currently, is it?
Yeah,
Where you're headed now? Okay.
yeah,
Right.
and this and like me performing on guitar, man. I don't know.
So this was the gig where the guitarist didn't show up. Is this the one?
Yeah, well, I knew that he wouldn't show up like by that time, like a couple of weeks before. I knew that he wouldn't show
Okay.
up. So, and I do play some chords. You know, I write songs on guitar, and I know all these jazz chords because I learned them
Okay.
when I was studying jazz.
Right.
And but yeah, like I don't know, like if I had to perform on guitar now, wow, I would be really scared. But I should, yeah, to watch it was really beautiful actually. It was a great experience. Thank you, Larry.
You have a little laugh coming up when you say performing jazz. Why is that?
Because it's funny.
You don't do it anymore? You studied it but you didn't play it? Or?
Yeah, I studied a lot. And I also, yeah, recorded some jazz records also with different collaborations and some great musicians. I don't know, you know, jazz, as in American music,
Yeah.
I find now that it was like great to study and to learn different tools through jazz, but I would never see myself playing jazz, traditional jazz.
Okay.
Even though it's fun and it's great and I love it. But then when I hear like an American singer, I'm like, that's how it should be.
What, Do you feel like that, like it's the color of your voice or the accent, or what is it?
Yeah, the accent for sure, and the timing, the swing, the your pronunciation, not really like not language wise, but of the language. Like
Okay,
yeah,
like a deep seated feeling of it as your mother tongue. Is that what you're getting at?
yeah. That's the thing. Yeah, for sure. Not being a native speaker plays a big part, but also like it's really about this like essence of jazz, the swing and the accents and how you shape
Oh,
each
those kind of
word, and
accents. Okay, okay.
you shape each word, and you shape each melody, and you fall in the right place. And I really admire it. In a way, like I just also at a certain point I got more into doing my own things, so I stopped practicing like I used to practice, and then
Okay.
easily you lose a lot of your technique.
Yeah,
So
yeah. But do you not also perform in other languages, jazz, like not just English, right?
no, yeah, for sure. I think like for me, English was not the main thing. I actually, yeah, like I hear my accent, but then also when I was singing jazz, I would really like practice how to sound more and more like the jazz singers.
Mm.
There is a yeah, there is jazz in Portuguese, but I don't speak Portuguese. But I could I can pull it off. Yeah,
Which
I
languages
love bossa. Yeah,
which languages do you speak? What is your mother tongue, or what other?
my mother tongue is Italian,
Uh huh.
and I speak English. I speak a little bit of French,
Uh
and
huh.
I speak a little bit of Dutch,
Okay. Okay.
Dutch Flemish,
Right.
and my Nepali is so bad.
How is the challenge of picking up the language?
In Nepal,
Yeah.
yeah, dude, I really have to. I really have to. But yeah, it's another universe of sounds and
Okay. And for someone who could be considered a sound artist, or someone that mainly plays with music and creates sound, you strike me as someone that's quite quite comfortable in front of the lens in, say, photography or videography. Um, to what degree are all these things just stories, like films, videos, brand films, ads, or promotions, or shooting for your friend's fashion label? To what degree do you think these are all just stories, or they're all just art? Why? What makes you feel so comfortable with it? Because not everyone is, right?
yeah, yeah. Good question. Um, I think I've always felt comfortable, and I've
In
always
general.
wanted performing and being in front of a lens or in front of people doing my thing,
Okay. Yeah.
and even just not doing my thing, doing something that I'm
Experimenting.
asked, yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
and I like it. Like, yeah, I really like nice pictures, or like a nice video. So, so it's nice that you mentioned this modeling for my friends, fashion friends.
Right. Yeah. I feel like
For
I've seen
instance,
that.
like that's totally like a story that could fit into mine. Like
Yeah.
all of this, most of these collaborations, even those that I wasn't like a musician for, but like a model or I don't know, yeah, I guess a model, fit in my story because of the people that are behind it.
Okay. Okay.
So in this case, this friend of mine, she runs a children's clothing brand called Ketiketa,
Uh huh.
and she's from Paris, and the brand is made in Nepal. And she came to one of my latest shows in Nepal, like a big show. It was called Long Tongue Tales: A Journey into the World of Pangolins.
Okay.
It's a performance of music and analog animation
Yeah. Great.
with a colleague friend of mine from Italy also.
Okay.
And this friend of mine, Alia, she loved the performance. And actually, I didn't know her, but she came up to and like she reached out to us to meet us and talk about doing something together, like doing like a pangolin line
Okay.
for her brand. And then I ended up modeling for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did that eventuate the pangolin line?
Yes, we are working on it, and it's coming up in spring. Yeah.
I will get back to asking you about the Fossick project, but for now,
Yeah.
can you introduce this tune?
Shoes, rocks, and boxes. Yeah. Okay. Shoes, rocks, and boxes.
And is this the album that you were talking about before?
Yeah.
The
It
Belgian
was
band?
yeah. It
Okay.
was the single we released
Uh huh.
when we released the record, and it's a song I wrote kind of together with my band. Like my band
Mhm.
helped writing like the groove and backbone of the song, and then I wrote the song.
Right.
But which is quite unusual. It's probably the only song we wrote this way because usually I'm just like so
Very hands-on.
protective,
Okay.
yeah, protective of my songs. And if I bring like an arrangement that is not finished and then it goes somewhere that I didn't expect, then I probably regret it.
Okay.
But this time, yeah, I mean, it started this way, so then we kept it, and we
Okay.
thought that it was fun.
Yeah.
And so something that also picks up the last topic we touched. So the video direction was done by Yoshe, who's a good friend who used to work when we were students. We used to work in the same cafe,
Okay.
and she released her short film maybe a couple of years before this one, like in 2015, maybe no, 1 year before. And we all like witnessed her work there, like how she was working so hard in the cafe to make enough savings to
Pursue film.
pay for the short film, and
Okay. Yeah.
filing for funds. And she did a great job, and the short film is great.
Right. Right.
And her name is Yoshe Hendricks.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember the title because it's some kind of Swedish strange word.
Okay. What genre?
It's
What style of film is it?
very
It's a short,
Swedish.
short film, was it?
Yeah, it's short film.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very, yeah, it's very Scandinavian. I don't
Okay.
know, like I don't want to talk about film because obviously, like,
Okay.
I'm not an expert.
Right.
With great definitions. So when we were thinking of doing a video clip, which was the very first video clip I had ever done,
Uh-huh.
it was quite natural to ask her. And so she came up with this idea. It was winter, so there would be a month of this carnival in town. So she came up with the idea of just going to the carnival and taking some fun shots there. And there is also a scene of me waking up. Yeah, it was really fun, and I have great memories of this.
Okay. Let's check it out.
Yeah. Oh, I left my shoes on a carousel. They've been traveling since then. On somebody's feet in a foreign street, and they haven't sent postcards. Oh, how could I doubt? How could I land on my journey? When I realized, I stood up and found that a part was still sleeping. Oh, oh, and I dropped my rock in a crowded street, a frenetic boulevard. Oh, I dropped my rock and I felt its way rolling off of my backbone. Oh, how could I doubt? How could I be so naive? When I turned my back, he was walking fast in the pockets of a stranger. Wake me up when springtime rings the bell. Wake me up. Wake me up when springtime hits the shore. Wake me up. Play a song with roses, with their scent. Wake my heart. Wake me up with blossoms on my skin. Wake me up.
That's shoes, rocks, and boxes. What is it like watching that for you? Is it some cringes, some smiles? What is that feeling?
Eh, it's nice to watch because there are some nice moments there, and we were actually genuinely having fun.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, to listen to the song again and like I am like so critical. There are so many things I would do different now in the production of it.
So that's the mix and like how it sounds,
The
that kind of.
mix, the structure, it's way too long.
Were you?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, sure. These are labels, and I'm not sure how you feel about labels, but it has like a kind of pop folk kind of feel. Like, did you want to get like a more of a tighter pop song? What was the? What
Yeah,
would you?
I guess this one was like meant to be a pop song.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But at the same time, like obviously, even if I would try, I can't make pop music. Like it's always something like with something odd in it.
yeah. So you had your outro key change
Yeah.
there, was
So
it?
then there was like this outro, and in general, like there will be like some odd riffs or my melodies. They are not really, yeah, not really linear. Usually there is something
Yeah,
more going on or like a change in harmony. And so I guess like I really didn't care for it to be like a 3 minutes 40 hit,
yeah, yeah.
and I still wouldn't. But I think that there are some things I would change in the structure and in some of the choices of sound.
I feel like pop songwriting gets a bit of a bad name because it's deceptively hard. I feel
Yeah, it
like.
is very hard. I
Yeah,
think. I think it's people that do it are like really good.
yeah, yeah. And I feel like that song has a lot of these elements of like a successful, like a really solid pop song, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess like the verse is really a verse. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
the chorus. Yeah, could be a pop song. Maybe it could had to be like a bit more
And the feel of
like
the sorry, the feel of the video clip for those that aren't watching, it's in 4:3 format, so an older
yeah.
non-widescreen format. It's a little bit cropped, and it's got this kind of nostalgic family holiday home video kind of feel. But I think that's done in like a the filmmaker's gone about making it feel like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think our reference. So my first reference, I don't know why, was "Losing My Religion" by REM,
Okay. Yeah.
and then that's why she chose also this format, and it was already on her mind. But then I gave this reference because I just like I love that video, and then we checked this other one, "Imitation of Life" by REM, that has this nostalgic family vacation feel. So I guess REM is my reference for
Yeah.
the video.
Yeah. And again, with you being comfortable in the creation process visually, some of the scenes are very, very like warm and intimate. Was that because it was someone that was so close to you behind the lens? That
For sure.
yeah.
And also the makeup artist, a very good friend of mine. So
Okay.
they were both really pushing me
Yeah.
to do the dance, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was really great.
But in like looking at it now, it feels very you and it feels very comfortable. It feels very
Hmm.
natural, not necessarily like you're wearing masks or characters.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, we touched on genres. You're someone that have played with many different genres of music. How do you feel about genres, labels, and the way that we categorize music, and how does that help you kind of navigate
Mm.
your space, your
Yeah,
place of
I
music?
never felt comfortable with it.
Mm.
And I guess I'm doing better now. But I felt like really uncomfortable with it, like when this album came out and I had to tell what it was.
Mm.
And I've ended up like kind of giving up explaining, and I ended up also, yeah, kind of, yeah, changing a bit of the way I write. I think when I got more conscious about genres and
Yeah.
sounds, which is not a bad thing, it's also a good thing. Like it's good, it's something I'm learning. It's good to learn about like what sound belongs to what in time, in time. Then
Hmm.
we are in a moment in which like we can use anything in one place, and
Yeah.
if you do it like and you pull it off very, it makes sense to you, then everything can work. But it was just, what I mean is like it was interesting to learn more, and I am interested now in learning more about what belongs to a certain genre and how I can use it
Yeah.
in the best way, like to just describe what I want to do, like unravel my thoughts.
Like learning it in detail to sort of throw away the rule book kind of thing, or what's the approach?
Yeah. Uh, I don't know. It's just like now when I'm writing, I have like more like before it was more like I had maybe a color in mind
Yeah.
or an overall feeling of what it should be, and now I can just like be like I want that sound that I heard there, but I want to change it this way. Like mm, I can. I'm just like learning more production, I guess. Yeah,
Okay. Because something like jazz music came out of a specific time and location, right? And I guess it
definitely.
helps if you have an understanding of that, so as not to just appropriate.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's a very important thing for jazz.
Yeah.
But it's a very important thing for many other genres.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you touched on colors there. There's been a big response to the music platform called Colors, and for anyone not familiar, it's coming out of Berlin, and the catchphrase is all colors, no genres." And they're focusing on a particular music aesthetic, which is a little hard to describe, but visually, for anyone who hasn't seen that, they'll take a color from the performer's clothing, and then this will generally become the color of the square box studio that they perform a semi-live song in for the studio. I understand Colors have reached out to India recently, and you met the representative.
Yeah, not in person,
Okay.
but we've been talking like a few times lately. Her
Okay.
name is Anisha and she's based in Bombay. And actually, I got in touch with her because she is the India representative of She Said So, which is an amazing initiative. Like it's a global community of women who work in the music business
Great.
and
Yeah.
based, yeah, the headquarters are in LA and London, I think, if I'm not wrong. But
Okay.
it's spreading out, and there are divisions in many countries. One of them is in India, and because we are just about to have an event with Sofar Sounds Kathmandu that will have 100% female lineup and will happen during the Photo Kathmandu Festival,
Yeah.
that has this year a focus on gender, patriarchy, identity, like these
Yeah.
kind of issues
Yeah.
for which we thought 100% female lineup would make an impact. And it's also because we think it's just like very important to have more female acts because on average, like, we are just like not close to be 50-50.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so I got in touch with Anisha, who was the representative of the India division, and she is also involved in colors. So she mentioned that to me, and I checked the platform out. And actually, she also asked for recommendations of artists that I know that could be featured on it.
Mhm.
So it's exciting, and I think it's a great, yeah, things are going well. Like things are taking a good turn, I think.
From what you understand, is that her relationship with Colors, to be a bit of a scout for India to perhaps, it feels like they all get shot in Berlin, right? So would that be sending artists to Berlin
I'm
potentially?
not quite sure, but I think, yeah, she's doing some scouting.
Okay.
So I guess most probably they are shooting also in other parts of the world.
Right. And it's
But I'm not sure.
she said so.
She said so.
She
Yeah.
said so. So working with women in the music business, is that both sides, performers, management?
Yeah.
I know you find yourself on
360 degrees. Yeah, you can.
both sides of this.
Yeah, many. There are many different people in the community, and even video makers. It doesn't not necessarily be like strictly around being a music performer or a music business
Okay.
professional, but also like around the music.
Right. Now, you've started up something recently called Wasp. Can you tell us what this new venture is all about?
Yeah, so Wasp, We All Should Play Concerts is a booking agency that I've started very recently. Actually, this idea came up in August, and actually, you were probably the first act of unofficially of
Yeah.
Wasp because
Yeah,
he
yeah.
was my first artist that I would like take care of in Nepal, and it came up from the need for me to do something more than Sofar. I mean, Sofar is awesome, and it's probably the best thing that I'm doing that I've done, and it was a
Yeah.
great opportunity, and it still is amazing. But I feel like I would like to organize also full shows for acts, so that you can have like different different concerts in town, not
Yeah.
only like a Sofar Sounds, but also like you like an artist, or I like an artist and I know they're passing by, and I can plan a couple of shows, one in the north of the city, one in the south of the city, so that more people can come see it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm working with some venues, and I'm starting to work with some other promoters also, and yeah, learning the job, I guess.
Okay. And you recently went down to the Sofar Sounds meetup, right? Did you meet other people that sort of got similar things on the side or connected to similar sort of side projects than their
Yeah,
individual Sofar cities?
yeah, definitely. It was inspiring because not all of them, but like for sure, all of the Asia city leaders I've met are just like very brilliant people doing many different things. And some of them are professionals in the music business. So they have also other things on the side of, yeah, booking agencies or management. There are, yeah, a couple of them are managers. And who else? But other people do something very different. Like there is this girl from Seoul, South Korea.
Mm-hmm.
She develops apps,
Okay.
but she's like absolutely the most incredible city leader I've ever met.
Right.
Like, wow, she's really good.
Okay. So she's
Yeah.
otherwise not involved in the music
No,
scene.
she develops apps. I think
Okay.
not particularly focused on music, but yeah.
Right. Right. So in my first round, it was in Sri Lanka. So I was using the term island mentality and talking with people about the pros and cons. But essentially, it's talking about being in a small country and the sort of isolating effects of that. Over there, it's a little bit more enhanced because we do have no land borders.
Yeah.
In this context here in Nepal, how do you feel that the smallness of the country brings advantages, disadvantages
Mm.
in terms of the creative scene and music scene in particular?
Well, I am I am impressed by the creative scene. So I'm not sure how the political and geographical situation of Nepal influences that. In a way, I think that the fact that it's so there are different yeah consequences. I think like one very important uh, thing that we can't forget about is that actually Nepalese they can travel in India, but for the rest of the world they need visa. So many artists have not been abroad,
Okay.
and it's like yeah, for me, like yeah, coming from Europe and being like having this very privileged passport, it was quite a new news to uh, digest.
Yeah,
You know that
absolutely.
like I mean I can go everywhere. You know, and at the same time I feel like in a way it's part of it, it's part of the creative process, like for sure the political and geographical context and the fact that it's we are not surrounded by the sea, and
Mm.
yeah, of course you can fly to Delhi, but or you can fly to Bombay and that's a direct flight, but for all the other destinations you'll need to just like travel very long.
Yeah.
And there is quite some isolation I guess, but I think yeah it works in both directions, you know. Of course it's a disadvantage obviously,
Yeah.
but it's also an advantage for the fact that we kind of preserved a cocoon,
Mm.
and this cocoon is like a mix of tradition, innovation, and identity, for sure identity. And I find that the art scene is very deep, goes very deep,
Yeah. Yeah.
much deeper than in other places in the world, much deeper than the place where I lived for years and I did my studies.
Mhm.
I find it similar to my home country in a way. Like
Uh-huh.
I find Nepal similar to Italy for the way history still lives somewhere in the soil, like
Right.
underneath our feet,
Right. Right.
and influences us. And mentality wise, I don't know. I guess yeah, it's not an island. It's the opposite of an island. You know,
It's
actually, it's really the
landlocked.
opposite of an island.
Yeah.
And
Wedged in between two giants.
I guess, yeah, the limits are, in fact, like these borders that are hard to uh, come across.
Yeah.
And it's an opportunity now to expand the range of operation, of like musicians from here, for instance. That's what I would like to do more and more, and that's why I'm getting in touch with more people in India, because the art scene is amazing.
Yeah.
The music industry is like booming and it's incredible. So
It is, yeah.
I feel like it's really the opportunity now is to connect with India and with other places in Asia where things are going like at a fast speed. And I think that Nepal is more than ready. Kathmandu is more than ready. So
Absolutely, yeah. Deep is the word for it. Coming from Sri Lanka, the density and the number of music venues and bands is just massive here, both in Kathmandu and Pokhara, the small scenes around, but also compared to Sri Lanka and India, it seems challenging for people in creative industry with the wages here. It's really, so the number of performers is greater, but the financial value that they're providing seems to be less.
That's
in the
also
context.
why like I felt that starting Wasp was necessary, because I feel like it's time to create awareness about this and to like support the musicians that are doing it professionally, and also to explore different possibilities. Like I myself, like I do many different things, because Kathmandu is still like, Nepal is still like basically just Kathmandu, and you can't really make a living by performing in one city, can you? So yeah.
Okay. So Wasp exists and is striving to help others' work get out there. How do you get your own music out there? How have you done it in the past? How do you think you'll do it next time?
I released it independently. I released it through CD Baby on all the streaming platforms and iTunes, and we printed it. We bought like our copyright stamps from the Italian copyright agency, and we sold it at the shows. And
sold physical copies?
Yeah, physical copies at the shows.
CDs, is it?
Yeah, CDs. Yeah, CDs only. But yeah, I guess like next time I want to make vinyls. But I mean, I have an EP in the making. It's been in the making for a long time. It's also the second album of my band. Is been in the making, and then I moved here, so I put it in standby.
Okay.
And I'm waiting for the good time to put it out and finish it and put it out. And about my EP, I had a plan that actually is falling apart. So I'm making a new plan.
Okay.
And I think I'll be releasing with an independent label from Italy, probably, or from somewhere else. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have a few options, and I think I really want to do this in 2019, so it will be done.
It can be a real challenge to communicate to, I guess, a listener who may not be so aware of all the ins and outs of making music. But when you see something like this video clip that you showed, that's gone through this massive long process of you writing, maybe testing the song live, finally getting to recording the song, mixing, mastering, and then that mastered piece of music is what the video clip is then shot, cut, and edited for, right? So it's this huge, long process. Where are you with the current music? When you say it's in the pipeline, is it still being written and produced?
It's written, yeah. It's definitely recorded, but it's not finished. The production is not finished. I'm not sure how I want it to sound.
Okay.
And I'm also not sure that I'm gonna put only those songs, maybe some new songs as well. So in a way, like I had the plan of releasing this 3-track CP.
Yeah.
And this fell apart because of like some major forces, like not due to me, not due to the producer, but okay, it's going this way, unfortunately. But now it's an opportunity for me to change maybe the initial plan according to what I feel now.
Okay. When we talk about festivals, Photo KTM is going on at the moment, and I think it's one of your favorite festivals. Can you tell us about the festival and maybe a little bit more about its theme?
Yeah. Well, I like this festival. It's actually the first time that I experience it in person. But the first edition in 2014, 15, sorry, the first edition in 2015 was being like it was like in the making when I was living here for the first time,
Mm.
and my sister came to visit me, and then she just called her boss at home in Milan and told him, I quit. I'm staying here. She really did. It was her internship, of course,
Okay.
but still, she called and she said, "I'm sorry, I'm staying here." And she stayed for like a couple of months, and she interned with Photo Circle, the organization that
Right.
organizes Photo Kathmandu. So that's why I'm like, I have these romantic memories of that time, and
Okay.
that's why I have like this sympathy for Photo Kathmandu.
Right.
Then the second edition, yeah, I wasn't here. Now finally I'm here. This is the third edition. I like the fact that it's so spread out, and it's so user friendly in a way. Like you can just like walk around and you're in the museum,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's what I like. I like the fact that there are different activities. Yeah, I think, I mean, it's a photography festival, of course. Like I would like a concert every night, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's not what it's about. And but still, like there are possibility of fitting some music into it, and in fact, even the two of us are going to play, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
yeah, for a photography festival, it does tend to involve many different mediums,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Various events, and also for photography festival, I've been involved with a women's festival in Colombo, and this festival seems even more radically feminist than a
Mm.
women's festival was in my experience.
Mm.
How does that feel for you, or why do you think that's important in this space in this time?
I think it's very relevant because coming from Italy, there are many issues that I haven't experienced in first person. For instance, like all the discourse about menstruations that is going on, and it like that goes on in like much work of many artists here, is something that I had to learn about because, yeah, we, of course, like we all struggle with this issue, but at the
Yeah.
same time, like we don't have to be like isolated when we get our menstruations. While I it was very interesting to read and to see like the work of certain artists that describe what this is for someone born in certain tradition. And also, I'm a teacher. I work as an educator. I have two groups of teenagers that I mentor,
Uh-huh.
and when I talk to them, it always comes up like the genre, the gender issue, and equality issue
Mm.
always comes up. So I feel, and it was not like for my generation at the same age. It was not the same. Like,
Something that we talked about.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would have never been so aware
Yeah.
as they are. So I think it's great, and it has a, yeah, it's quite significant that the festival is talking about this, and I hope that it's talking about those age groups as well. I don't know. I will do my best to help.
I know she said so. Is that
Yeah.
she said so? I know she said so is working on this very thing, but how important do you think representation in music is, and how do we get to where we want to be with equal representation in music and on music stages?
I think it's, yeah, we're still very far from equal representation,
Yeah.
and I struggled very much when I was just like a full-time singer-songwriter, like when I was really focused on getting my music out, like when my album was released. I really struggled with this because I was very confronted with the fact that the industry is strongly discriminative,
Yeah.
and so much, and it's like so rooted, like
Mm.
so established, that it's almost like hard to talk about it or
Yeah.
how to do something about it. And if you say something about it, they'll be like, "Oh my god, yeah, there she goes again. I know a female manager, I know a female booker, that venue is programmed by a woman." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's exactly what I wanted to say." But yeah, I feel like this.
Tell me, what's the context of that? Who would be saying these things?
Oh, if I would be like talking and like complaining about the fact that, oh, this is very hard for a woman.
Uh-huh.
Like it's very hard in general, but
Yeah.
it's especially very hard from a woman. And like I feel that I am discriminated because I'm a woman, or like if I talk to them, if I was a man, there would be a different
Right.
reaction. And I talk about the fact that there are less opportunities for women in the music industry, then it seems like, oh yeah, of course you're saying this, like, right, oh yeah, like if there weren't
Just on a
female
feminist rant.
managers, yeah. And wow, it's yeah, I think it's very important what she said. So it's doing, and also this organization called Key Change
Okay.
that is working towards the 50-50 quota in festivals. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, of course you feel this in your music and on stages and in festivals you might have been involved in, but now you are stepping up and you are being a manager. How do you feel like that colors your experience when you're organizing with new venues or artists contact you, or
Mm.
do you think you're questioned or doubted if you
Mm.
can do what you are actually doing?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Not like in, oh, I mean, I can generalize, like there are great, I'm working with great people. So not like with the people that I work regularly, I feel like actually it's an added value that I'm a woman. And, actually I work like with other female curators.
Mhm.
Like now we are hosted by Helena in Kaalo in her art gallery, and
Yeah,
she's
it's
like
amazing space.
an amazing woman in arts.
Could you tell us about this space? Actually, I forgot to
Yeah,
mention the
so this
space
is
that we are
called
hosted in.
Kaalo 101.
Uh-huh.
It's an contemporary independent art gallery
Okay.
founded by Helena and Aditya.
Uh,
And Helena is a German um,
Transplant.
researcher. I don't know. Like I think she's a.
Yeah.
She came here to do a research, and she did her PhD, and then she stayed,
Mhm.
and she started this beautiful place. And now she's a very active person in the art scene in Kathmandu. So is the artistic director of Photo Kathmandu, who was also a woman,
Yes. Yeah.
and a director of different art galleries in Kathmandu are also women, like Siddhartha Art Gallery, Nepali Art Council. So, I mean, I do feel like, yeah, I feel that with some, like, especially venue owners, when you come and you're a woman and you're also a foreigner, it's
Mm.
kind of like, I feel like, yes, I guess like there was like a little prejudice from their side,
Okay.
but I just try to do my best to prove prove myself, I guess.
Right. Right. Do you think as we move towards gender parity in leadership roles, that representation just tends to be a flow-on effect of that?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. I want to talk about surviving and thriving. You did talk about playing gigs in one city, and that doing not only you can't just do that and survive, right? So you're out there teaching, you're out there hustling. How do you keep going?
I balance things up. I never take full-time regular jobs
Hmm.
because I'm always waiting for the time when I'm flying out and I'm going to tour myself
Okay.
for a bit.
Yeah.
But and also because I need a flexible schedule for all the things I do. So I was lucky enough to get like a few uh, teaching jobs that are quite flexible.
Yeah.
And they're very interesting, especially this like mentorship I do
Yeah. Yeah.
in a school here with like 16, 17-year-olds.
Hmm.
And I have some private students that are learning some vocal technique with me. Plus, I organize more and more shows. So I hope that will become, in a way, like a source of income or like part of my income. And yeah, when I travel, I play gigs. So I play gigs here, but like, of course, like we were saying, maybe once a month, or if I have a new project, or like if some of my, for instance, the Fossick Project, if my partner comes here, then we'll do like 1 week of like very intensive program in, but we are also playing shows in Europe, and now we're probably going to India in the winter and different other countries. So always trying to balance things up.
Okay. And I'm someone who I had the opportunity for a lifelong music learning because my mum is a music teacher, but I chose to go and play the drums, and I never studied music, but I have at times taught music workshops and musical skills. On the flip side, you've studied music extensively, I believe. Have you gone
Yeah,
into a master's?
masters. Yeah.
Yeah, can you tell me about that?
Yeah. I've always been singing since I was a little kid.
Hmm.
Then I started some vocal technique classes when I was 16, and I learned about the instrument, and I had an amazing teacher. But at the same time, I wasn't really sure, and actually, no, I was going towards academics more.
Uh-huh.
So I have a bachelor degree in political science, international relations.
All
That's
right.
I went right after my studies. I went to this bachelor studies, but already in my second year, I subscribed to this jazz school in Milan. That was a 3 years program and now became a bachelor. Back then, it was just a diploma. And I didn't know when I signed in, I thought that it would be just a music school, but it became like 60% of my studies, maybe.
Okay.
And so I got very, very fond of it. And after I finished and after I graduated in political science, I applied for the master and I got into the conservatory in Milan. And I actually wanted to study in Belgium. I was really in love with Belgium, with the idea of living there. Funny, but I I switched. Like from Milan, I went to Ghent, and I did my master's there. It was great. And then I did my internship here in Nepal. And when I went back, I graduated in 2015. So I learned a lot of jazz theory, harmony, history, rhythm, melody, improvisation. And I started to study music very late because I was 20.
Okay.
So there are still some things that I would like to do better, but I know that maybe it will never happen. Like learn how to play the piano well, learn how to sight read well.
Right.
Yeah, learn how to write for strings, this kind of stuff that I was supposed to learn at school, but I could kind of like get away with my exams and not really learn.
Okay. So I'm someone that I dropped out of uni in my last year, but I'd gotten enough out of the degree to then change directions and then keep going. But something about that amount of study just like I don't know, it just hurts my head a little bit. Is there a degree of like suffering and pain that you go through for that amount of study?
I had a lot of sense of duty, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess I was raised. I don't know because then my parents would say, "I don't know what you're talking about." Like your sister never had that. And I'm like, "Yeah, but I
They saw it
did."
more as a great opportunity.
Like I think because when I talk to my parents, I'm like, "Oh, I always felt like this sense of duty," and I somehow I think that it must have come from my parents. I don't know, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know, you were just like that." So I just like really felt like I had to finish.
Okay.
And yes, it was at times painful, but the motivation of finishing and getting there was like too big. And also the feeling that, oh, if I give it up now, it would just be nothing.
Right.
I don't know. So I guess I really had this strong motivation. And then after school, it's just like, it's gone. I don't know where this motivation is anymore. Lost.
And does all that qualification and that study, does that give you some building blocks or strength in your teaching, or is that another thing
Yeah, for
entirely?
sure. Well, first of all, it gives me a title to teach.
Yes.
Like,
Okay.
and when you send your resume, it looks like, wow, you've done so many things and you're such a pro, which I mean, we both know it's like partially true. Or like at least it's not the only way to be able to
Sure.
do the things I do or
Yeah.
like you do or we all do.
Right.
But yeah, I guess like going to school in some cases, like I had some teachers that had very good method and I learned from them the method.
Okay.
And I made like a patchwork of like all the teachers I liked and I put them all together, and now I guess I use a lot of what I learned from them and I put a little bit of me, and that's what I know. Yeah, but that's what I do.
Okay. And your music has evolved over the years and gone through certain I don't know, different twists and turns. Do you have a sense of like an end goal? What would be the ultimate thing for you to take your music and your art? Where to take it?
Uh, I think more and more I am experiencing the need for working with different art practice, like not myself, like
Different
I write,
mediums.
yeah,
Like
no, more like working with other artists that are working with a different medium.
okay,
So I guess like a very interesting and significant experience for me is the Fossick Project, which is collaboration with my friend Cecilia Valagussa,
yeah,
who is an Italian illustrator and a good friend. Like we were just like good friends hanging out. And one day she was about to publish her book and she wanted to do a release show. So she asked me to play some songs and we decided that maybe it would be nice if she would draw, like live draw something. So she got this very old school overhead
yeah,
projector
yeah.
and we did like some kind of freestyle performance in which I was playing my songs. I now play a solo performance with a loop machine like the TC Helicon Voice Live, which is an effector looper,
Mm-hmm.
since the microcorg and the organelle, and now I'm using Ableton Live. But back then it was just basically like one channel, like I was just looping synth and vocals through my loop machine, so very basic.
Uh-huh.
And she was drawing just like something, yeah, something, I don't know. She created a story
Right,
around it,
right.
and yeah, so that was the first attempt, and then we evolved. We developed the concept, we developed the possibilities, and we started using more materials. I started using some samples, recording soundscapes, and writing songs for the story.
Mm.
And we came up with this performance on pangolin, and we also decided that we're going to focus on wildlife conservation for a while.
Mm.
So we've we've done like this residency in Nepal and presented the show in Nepal. It went really well. Then we did some shows in Europe, and now we are about to start some more shows in the winter. That will probably take us to different countries, and we will keep on touring until the summer, kind of. And that was like very very interesting because I realized I want to connect my music to something visual. So that is something that is ongoing. And I'm also writing songs for a short film of my friend Rochelle. Rochelle, her surname is so hard. I think it's like Reuters. She's Dutch, so
Okay,
it's very difficult.
okay,
But she's a photographer and filmmaker, and
right.
she's working on her second short film. It's such an interesting project. I can't say anything about it yet, but I'm writing songs for it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I was really excited when I first saw some visuals of the Fossick project because with my mum being a musician, I grew up being the overhead projector boy in church with the lyrics. So I always had to kind of be a projectionist and pull out the right slide at the right time. And because of the nature of the
Amazing.
medium, you're like working in mirror and reverse, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you get in this weird headspace and you've got to put an extra sheet to cut. So when I saw that, I saw this like old school
yeah, yeah.
performance, and I did get to play around with that with a permaculture performance like about I don't know 8 years ago or something as well. We just did a very lo-fi shadow puppet kind of scene, and so
Wow.
it's a really warm feeling. This old school. Did you have to source that separately here, or did she
No,
bring
no,
one?
we have a portable.
Oh, you
We
brought one.
found
Oh, it
like
folds
this
up.
the one that folds. It's amazing.
Okay.
So we traveled with like our little two suitcases, and we go. We can go everywhere. It's like it's such a great also dimension, because like
Uh-huh.
we get along very well and we work very well together, and it's very easy to travel with a duo. Yeah.
Right, right. Well, thank you so much for being with me this evening on our very first Creative Tales
Thank you,
podcast.
Larry. It was my pleasure.
Marta del Grandi, thank you. Can you just give us a quick introduction to this piece, which also happens to be from the Fossick Project?
Oh, yeah. So this is a song I wrote for this show, Long Tongue Tales. So Long Tongue Tales.
Uh-huh.
Pangolin, I don't know if you know about pangolin. Pangolin is scaly anteater,
Okay.
and It's a small mammals with covered in scales, hard scales.
Are they here? I feel like I saw a
Yeah,
drawing of them here
there
in the
are.
national. Okay.
Yes, there are penguins in Nepal, but they're very hard to find
Okay.
because they are nocturnal
Right.
and they hide
Right.
and they like live underground, and they have this capacity of rolling up in a ball to hide and to protect themselves.
Okay.
And they have a very long tongue because they are anteaters, right?
So is
So
that the
the long
title?
tongue
Long
tails,
tongue.
yeah.
Okay, got it.
And the dramatic part of the story is that penguins are like one of the most trafficked animal species on the planet.
Whoa. Why
And
is that?
well, because they are believed to have like these scales that are have medical powers.
Okay.
Chinese medicine believes they have medical powers,
Right.
and their meat is believed to be very delicious and rare.
Wow. Any idea
So
what the black market rate is for
yeah,
them?
well, in the past 10 years, more than 1 million pangolins have been killed, and
Okay.
yeah, I think things are changing as well because like the campaign is going well, the awareness campaign. So I think that the price
Okay.
is for sure subject to that too. Like I guess things are getting better.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
which countries are they found in?
There are different species, but the
Uh-huh.
Chinese and Indian pangolins are the ones that are the most endangered.
Okay.
And we have some in Nepal. There are in India, in Vietnam, in China,
Okay.
in South and Southeast Asia. Yeah.
Right. Right. Okay. So a nocturnal creature and a nocturnal performance works well together then. The
Yeah.
projection.
So this is just a short version of a song of the show, and it's called The Promised Land. So basically, Longton Tales is the story of this pangolin that is living freely and happily in nature until the city comes up, like urbanization happens and this city starts to be built, and pangolin ends up selling momos on a food truck. Yeah. And he hates it. He hates this 9 to 5 jobs. And then he hears this voice of a goddess that tells him, go find the promised land. Yeah. So
Are you the voice? Or are you
no,
the
in that case, it was this goddess, this like Hindu goddess with like many heads and arms.
Okay.
And it was Chandresha who sang this like beautiful Indian classical piece,
Okay.
like being the voice of the god. Everything is music, so there are no speeches except for some samples. Like I sampled, you will hear voice sampled. I sampled
Barack
the
Obama.
speech of Obama.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, then he goes. Finally, he starts his journey to the promised land, and that's when this song happens. He meets the Gangetic dolphin, and Gangetic dolphin also tells him, "Let's go to the promised land. We won't regret it." Check it out,
Great.
y'all.
Thanks again so much for joining us, Marta,
Thank you.
on Creative Tales #1. Here's some of the journey into the world of pangolins. Goodbye.
Pangolin. Have you heard about the promised land? Some have already gone. Why don't we follow them? Blessed by the shade of mango trees, don't you wish for quiet and serenity? We won't need to move ever again. You shouldn't be afraid. Come on, take my hand and let's not waste more time, my friend. We should go look for the promised land. No regrets or fears no more. Let's go find what we've been looking for. Have you heard about the promised land? Some have already gone. Why don't we follow them? Trees of green, the sky is always blue. The best place to build In
no other country on earth is my story even possible. Hope in the face of uncertainty.
Why don't we follow
I am my brother's
my
keeper.
brother,
I am my sister's
my
keeper.
sister, my brother,
The audacity of
my
hope.
sister, my
A brighter
brother,
day will come.
my brother,
We are one
my
people.
sister.